Hi. I spent my day watching the Kavenaugh hearings. I was lucky enough to get up and only miss about 20 minutes. And I feel very sorry for anybody who couldn't do this because it was the best theater anywhere. um, Keeping up with my sister and daughter who both had to work, poor schmucks, and filling them in, and they're going, "Oh, how's it going?" Uh, the first part was the Ford broad, and I use that term very disparagingly, doing her little speech, her opening statement, which she had written down. And she sat there speaking in that glottal fry, really scratchy voice like this. So it was unbelievably annoying. And she looks 10 years older than she actually is. I think because she's a smoker. But anyway, little sidebar there. She Her statement was basically what we've heard in the news, the whole thing about the party and the walking up the stairs. One thing that never was addressed, even by the lawyer, it just occurred to me, was that she said she went upstairs to use the bathroom, and when she got up, the door next to the bathroom was the bedroom. Somebody pushed her in. So the two boys that she's accusing of, which was Kavenaugh and his friend, walked up behind her, and she didn't hear them. Was she that drunk? That nobody ever addressed whether she'd been drinking or whether she was drunk. Not one person asked her that, which was really valid for her memory. They asked Kavenaugh plenty of questions about his drinking and about his blackouts and all, but I'm skipping ahead. Okay, so I don't need to tell you what she said because it's exactly the same as what she had told the media and her letter and everything. And she was doing her little scratchy voice, and she was actually quivering her chin, and she was doing this like a high school performance of a person crying, except never once in the 20 minutes, half hour of her speech did she shed a tear or even get teary-eyed. So it was all a fake. And all the comments are running the live, feed that was going on. Plenty of people noticed this. It was so obvious. So then the senators got to ask her questions, and every Republican senator would cede their time to this female lawyer that they hired. And she was really great. She was just like somebody's dumpy aunt kind of a person, but very firm, and asked her, she'd walk right up to the line of questions that she could ask, but she knew that she couldn't be mean because that would be that this woman was being bullied, which is why the Republican senators ceded their time to her, was so that these white men, which of course are the cause of all evil in the world, wouldn't, be bullying up on her. So they gave it to her to do. She did that dirty work for them. So it was very smart. But she couldn't ask the really difficult questions. She didn't ask her about her drinking. Part of the story was that Ford's, when she got to the party, she could tell that Kavenaugh and his friend had been drinking a lot before she got there. And nobody questioned that. How would you know that? What were they doing to make that evident? Just that a 15-year-old girl would know that right away. And later it came out that she lived 6 to 8 miles away from the region where this party supposedly was, because she, even during the hearing, she didn't know. She couldn't say for sure. She didn't know the address. She didn't know whose house it was. She still didn't know. But we're supposed to believe her story. And so she walked home. She walked to the party, I guess, 6 to 8 miles away, and walked home 6 to 8 miles? 15-year-old girl? I don't think so. What a bunch of crap. Somebody either drove her to the party and drove her home. That person didn't know. She was all just straight that she had been almost raped and she thought she might die inadvertently because he put his hand over her mouth. So these allegations, we're hearing about them in the news for the past 2 weeks. They sound, depending on which way you lean, they sound either completely credible or they sound like a crock of shit. But watching her speak them in person, they completely sound like a crock of shit. To me, there was just no question, because she's not. She had lies in her stories. There were discrepancies. We heard that she couldn't come to the hearing because of her fear of flying, but the lawyer brought up, well, gosh, I mean, look here, we've got Aruba, Hawaii, and 3 other, at least, holiday spots that she'd been to in the past couple years or decade or whatever, and did you fly to those? Oh, yes, I flew on those. But it was different when it's a holiday thing. Oh, I see. Fear of flying is only if you don't want to get to your destination. That makes perfect sense. And this thing, not be able to remember who was there. One time it would be that there's one girl there and some guys, and there was like 4 guys, and then she wasn't sure if it was the guys, and she wasn't sure this. Really bad. Really, really unbelievable that anybody in this country would look at her allegations as being truthful when she couldn't remember the details. And please don't say that a lot of survivors do that. They have very clear memories of the thing that happens. If you're actually raped, fine. This girl was not raped under any circumstances. She was, well, I don't believe her story at all, period. Whatever happened to her at some point was merely roughhousing. So, skipping ahead, she's, I think, completely unbelievable, and has these 2 really nasty lawyers sitting with her that are all about stuff. And then Judge Kavenaugh comes in, and I had seen his interview on Fox News a couple nights ago, a week ago, with his wife, and I was really worried because he was not impressive. He was very quiet and very calm, and just denying things. And I thought, if you do that at the Senate hearing, you're doomed, because it's not that you look guilty, it's that you don't look innocent. Well, he came out with both pistols out of his holster and started firing the minute he sat down, and he was almost yelling. He was pissed and resentful and just appalled that this was happening to himself, his family, and the American public, which was really a great attitude to have. And at one point, he got so upset and frustrated and angry that he started to cry, and it was really moving and really powerful. And there were real tears, and this was real. It wasn't like the broads. We was talking about his dad. They questioned him about his diary. No, he brought up the diary that he'd had, and he said that his dad, a couple of years earlier than in 78, his dad started to keep a diary, and he kept it through his whole life. Still has it. And you could, what he wanted to say, you could just see that he is a teenage boy. He looked up to his dad, and he thought, that's pretty cool, because his dad would bring it out sometimes and read little things that happened. Well, that reminds me of this thing. And it was like a diary / calendar thing. That's why this geeky young Brett Kavanaugh had the diary entries, calendar entries that showed that he was nowhere in the area, even in the week that this supposedly happened. Although they can't pin the date down, it was pretty clear. So his testimony was really good. And then the Democrats got to question him, and instead of being respectful to him, like they'd insisted that the Republicans were respectful to the Ford broad, they were just awful. You can imagine Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, just, really bad human beings, I think. But he comported himself brilliantly. I think he came across as absolutely truthful. He had an answer. They grilled him about his drinking at 17, like this is an issue. They wanted to know if he, if he blacked out and all these things. And he was no, it didn't black out. We drank too much a lot of times, but I was so busy. I know going to Yale University and finishing high school and being on the sports teams is super active. That I didn't really overdo it that much. So if you have somebody that that watched this or has heard about it and is still saying, "Oh, I don't know who to believe," I try to point these things out to them. That there's a huge difference between a woman who's pretending to cry for the public. That this is a lie. If you lie about one thing, you lie about other things. Okay? She was pretending to cry. It was an absolute farce. And her story, because none of it adds up, even she couldn't even gather up, any other information for this hearing. And yet everything he said was very real and very honest and from the heart. And you could say that's because I believed in him, but I didn't actually believe in him. I mostly did, but when I saw him on the interview and he was very shy, it reminded me of a situation I got into when about 10 years ago I was trying to move to England and live there. I had my suitcase and my stuff, and I got caught at Heathrow, and the immigration guy smelled a rat and proceeded to interrogate me for 3 hours, during which I was very calm and very quiet and very I'm just visiting here I don't have a return ticket because I just don't know, I'm just visiting and I'll be returning in 6 months. And they didn't believe me. And then later I heard that it was because I should have ranted and screamed and thrown a fit that they had detained me, if I was really being honest. I didn't know that. So I was worried for Judge Kavenaugh because he was not showing anger, and he did today, and he did a great job. And I totally believe him now. That little tiny one little shred that was there during the interview is gone completely, because I don't know how you could not believe him. So you need to watch it. Definitely, if you're searching for pieces of it or watching pieces of it, Google the Lindsey Graham outburst, because it was magnificent. I haven't been a fan of his, a little bit more recently, but I tell you, he won my respect today because he went postal on the Democrats and just excoriated them for their behavior and their questioning and their lack of respect. It was brilliant. So enjoy the show. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.